Totalitarianism is the most extreme form of authoritarian rule. It doesn't just want obedience, it wants control over every part of life. What you say, what you read, what you believe, even what you think. A totalitarian regime doesn't tolerate private life because private life means freedom, and freedom is the one thing it cannot allow. The word totalitarian comes from total, meaning complete. In a totalitarian system, the government seeks total dominance over society, politics, culture, education, religion, and the economy. Unlike older monarchies that were content with loyalty, totalitarian governments demand devotion. They want citizens to worship the state as if it were sacred. The 20th century gave us the clearest examples. Nazi Germany, Fascist Italy, and Stalin's Soviet Union all tried to reshape entire populations through propaganda, surveillance, and through terror. They used ideology like a religion, turning leaders into symbols of purity or destiny. In Nazi Germany, Adolf Hitler claimed to defend the Aryan race and used that myth to justify genocide. In Stalin's Soviet Union, anyone suspected of disloyalty was branded an enemy of the people, sent to labor camps, or executed. In Mao Zedong's China, millions were forced into collectivized farming that led to famine and death. What makes totalitarianism so dangerous is that it doesn't stop at controlling behavior. It seeks to control truth itself. The state creates a single narrative and everything else becomes lies. Independent press, art, religion, and science all becomes targets because they represent alternative ways of seeing the world. Hannah Arendt wrote that totalitarian movements are built on the destruction of truth and the replacement of reality with ideology. Once people can no longer tell truth from lies, they can be made to believe anything. Even their own suffering is necessary. In totalitarian regimes, fear replaces trust. Neighbors report on neighbors, children are taught to inform on parents, and loyalty to a leader becomes the measure of morality. People comply not always because they believe, but because they're afraid not to. Over time, the lines between truth and survival blur. But totalitarianism doesn't just happen in distant lands or past centuries. It begins whenever people give up critical thinking for comfort or when propaganda becomes more powerful than facts. In the digital age, control doesn't always require violence. Sometimes it just requires manipulation, controlling the flow of information so that people live inside carefully crafted illusions. The best defense against totalitarianism is an informed and courageous citizenry. Free press, independent courts, and open debates are more than political ideals. They are survival tools. They keep truth alive. When citizens refuse to surrender their rights to question power, totalitarianism loses its grip. History proves that even the most powerful dictatorships eventually fall. The Soviet Union collapsed under the weight of its own lies. Nazi Germany was defeated when truth and courage fought back. The lesson is simple. No government can hold total power forever. People don't remain silent forever. Freedom once buried always finds its way back to the surface. That's why our responsibility as citizens isn't just to vote. It's to stay awake, stay skeptical, and never let anyone convince us that truth is treason.